Welcome to this week's edition of the Hook'em Hoops podcast. As my dog is in the corner of the screen here, brought to you by BetMGM. Here with the Field of 68, talking Texas basketball. About a week into this thing, a little over a week into this thing, the Horns are 2-1. There's been lots of good, some bad. Tommy, why don't you get us started with some impressions from the first few games?
I think through the first couple of games, they've been what we expected them to be. That first half against Duke was really impressive, and the fact that they went into the half with the lead said a lot about how Sean Miller had his team prepared. And then the second half was Duke being Duke, right? I don't think any of us picked Texas to win that game, but I think you saw some signs of encouragement. And none of us are necessarily moral victory guys, and I know that but the 15-point loss, I don't think is as telling to how close that game was. Sure, they ran away with it late, and you got to prevent that from happening. But um, that game showed me that Dalen Swain is probably going to be he and Tremont Mark kind of on any given night are going to be your two go-to offensive guys, and we'll see how well that works. And then as far as the last two games, I try not to put too much stock into that because it's Lafayette and FDU, and FDU's not in 2020. Was it 23 or 22 that they beat Purdue?
22,
Um,
23.
but so yeah, they won the games they're supposed to win. They're doing what they're supposed to do. But credit to Sean Miller, man. This team looks very sound defensively. They've put together some good offensive sets, and they've shown some promising things.
Yeah, top 25 defense according to Ken Palm. I mean, that's Sean Miller effect quickly, right? This team, this is about what we expected, in my opinion. We thought there's going to be a lot of depth, and that's like true. You can see guys like Simeon Wilcher, Camden Hyde. We got like 9 guys playing at least 10 minutes, which is what we expected. I think the one problem with this team is the 5 spot. I think between Matas, Vakatitis, and Lassina Traore. There's some things to figure out there, but they are both very strong defensively. I think there's some issues with how to run an offense. I feel like sometimes Truman Mark wants the ball too much. Sometimes Matas Vakatitis wants the ball too much. Like in the Duke game, Vakatitis I don't think passed the ball once. Like I don't know what the stat is, but there's no way it was over 5 passes. This team can compete at least for 20 minutes. We know that. You wouldn't guess it, but they went into the half of Duke up by a point. So I mean, it's proven they didn't really prove themselves for 40 minutes, but they do have the capabilities. The defense is what's going to keep this team in a lot of games this year, and what's going to edge out a lot of wins that just we didn't see last year. I mean, this team was what, 8-10, 6-11 in SEC play last year, well below 500. And I think the defense is Sean Miller. It's I think Declan DeRue is kind of a sleeper this year. He's super fun to watch, young freshman. But yeah, that's my view. We don't really know much. We don't really know much.
We really don't. We really don't know much right now, but the offense looks better than last year. The defense looks better than last year. The rotations are deeper than last year. And to your point about the bigs, yeah, I mean, it does look like a work in progress between Traore and Vocatitis, but I think we've seen a lot of good from Vocatitis. The passing will come. When he starts getting doubled more, the passes will open up for him. But through 3 games, he's averaging 16 and 8 with 2 blocks. I mean, that's pretty good. That's better production than Texas has gotten from the 5 in a long time. And so for the Longhorns to get that from him in the early going, somebody who, maybe on the onset of the fall, we maybe thought would have been more of a developmental guy. We'd see Lassina Traore more. Instead, it's almost been the opposite, despite Traore being 3 years older. I've been really impressed with this team. I've been really impressed. I think that moving Tremont Mark off the ball into a scoring role was a really smart move on Sean Miller's part. Letting Jordan Pope be a little bit more of the engineer of the offense, I think is smart too, because I like him as a microwave scorer, but he's also a pretty good passer too. And then, when you're playing subpar competition, you want to see the back end of the roster get into the games. And we've seen good stuff from Declan DeRue. We've seen stuff from Nick Cody, who can't even be considered back of the roster anymore. And then you got Anton McDermott coming off the bench hitting threes. So this Texas team's deep. They're deep. And, Yeah, it's hard not to be too excited. It's hard not to be excited after the first few games. But at the same time, they are playing Lafayette and subpar competition until they go off to Maui. Anybody have any last thoughts on the first few games before we get into the next few?
Yeah, I got one. I'm going to push back a little bit on the Vocatitis love there. Um, Unfortunately, I can't say what I said in our group chat, but look, man, 7 foot 255, brother. You got to assert some of that Lithuanian dominance a little bit more. I mean, this is a big, strong dude, and it just seems like he's not soft by any means, but it just seems like he's not. There are instances where you wish he would kind of either lower the shoulder a little bit more. And in that Duke game, you saw him trying to kind of try to find that balance between okay, what's good physical and what's too physical, and it's a process, right? I think that he'll get that down, but there were one too many times where I'm sitting there like, man, just go up stronger. Like you're not 7 feet tall. You're 7 feet tall for a reason. Like you can assert your dominance on the interior, but I will say this last game against FDU, I thought he played much better, and if he's at this point and he's going to be a developmental guy, then I think I can live with that. It is just frustrating to see a guy that size because Texas hasn't had a guy that size in so long kind of struggle to be more physical when, again, 7 foot 255. Like you have got to make yourself a presence. There should be nobody on the court 9 times out of 10 that should out rebound you. And I felt like sometimes he was getting outworked, and he's got to improve in that department. But again, I don't want to dink too much on what's been a pretty solid start to the year, albeit you're playing Lafayette and FDU in 2 of these games.
Yeah, I got no more thoughts. I do think that this team's best five is not Nick Cody who starts. I think the best five is Jordan Pope and Kendall Weaver in the guards. I think Tremont Mark, if you start using him as a slasher on the wing who can shoot threes, I think that's exactly where he belongs. He played point guard at the end of last year a lot, taking the ball up a lot, and he didn't score a lot. I think he was averaging 4 points towards the end of the year when he was playing point guard, So like how this guy should be getting involved in offense is not taking the ball up, but it's getting that skip pass and driving or shooting or getting creative. He probably is the best mid-range player on this team, and he's loves getting to the basket. He's got a nice floater in his bag. I think he's kind of Tremont Mark's kind of the secret weapon in this team. Where was Tremont Mark 2 seasons ago? Was it Arkansas? Or it was
Arkansas.
and that team was terrible. That was pre John Calipari. He averaged 20 points a game, but it was highly inflated, just like Jordan Pope was at Oregon State. Now I think after I know it's Fairleigh Dickinson and it's Lafayette, but these guys finally started playing well together. And that's kind of the key to this team. Pope and Mark are the engine. I think Matas Fokatitis is kind of the break when you need him, like you need him. Um, but again, not a lot of thoughts after these 3 games.
Yeah.
Can I? Oh, sorry. Go ahead,
Go ahead,
Jason.
Tommy. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to real quick before we go to the next segment pitch a starting five for you guys and see what you think. Would you guys be cool with basically everything the same as this last game? Vocatitis, Pope, Swain, and Mark. Instead of Nick Cody, would you be cool with Declan Duru coming in and starting, but making it, hear me out, making it all right, you're starting for the first 5-6 minutes so we can establish something on defense, and then you bring in a Kendall Weaver or you bring in a Simeon Wilcher or something like that. Do we like that idea? I feel like that could be pretty beneficial.
I really like that idea. I think that's fantastic. Declan DeRue is a fantastic defender. He plays hard. He seems to understand both the offensive and defensive systems, which is I mean spectacular for an international player who's coming over from Real Madrid. I would love to see him start because he can guard positions 1 through 5. He's a physical defender. The analytics like him on defense so far. And we've seen him play more each game, and so I think that we're going to see more Declan DeRue. Is he going to start yet? Maybe not, but 10 days until Maui, we're going to kind of get to see, Texas play around with these 5-man rotations, play around with these sets, and then once they go to Hawaii, really experiment with things that they're going to go on to use in SEC play. So with that said, 2 more games until Maui. UMKC and Ryder, not exactly the most gripping competition. What would you two, starting with Zach, like to see accomplished in those games?
All you, Tommy.
He said starting with Zach.
Oh, sorry, with me. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, sorry.
Good.
Kansas City and Ryder just get me to Maui. Like, I don't really know what I'm gonna learn out of those games. Bottom 50 teams in all of college basketball. It's the same thing with Lafayette and Fairleigh Dickinson. I mean, if I want to see anything, like what can Camden Hyde really do? Um, that's about it. I don't know how does the um redshirt stuff work for freshmen these days? Like,
Can't
is there
play at all.
can't play at all?
Can't play at all.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, who's the freshman that came in this year?
John Clark, he's not going to play
John
out.
Clark. Yeah, Sean talked about it at the press conference on Monday. They're just really no reason to burn some eligibility when the team's this deep. So yeah, I mean, I don't really know. I think by the time we do our pre-Maui podcast, I think it's all going to be pretty similar, like conversations. Like we know what we know. Let's play some real opponents. I think Virginia after Maui, I mean Maui would be good. Arizona State almost blew one. I forget to who, but like Maui's really not going to be that great. It's going to be Washington State as Chaminade, and we're on that side. So if we beat Arizona State, it's Washington State, and then I forget who's up top. But these are three games that this is Texas' tournament to win. And it really couldn't be. But for some reason, Maui's bad this year. I guess I do know why. It's because of the player invitational. But they got to win that. And then the real test is Virginia. Sneaky good team, sneaky rebuild. And I kind of just want to get to that part of the season.
Well, I'm trying to pull up this Maui graphic, but for whatever reason, this website is absolutely
It's a
unavailable
terrible
to use.
field this year. It's nasty.
Yeah. So essentially, if you win both of the games, if Texas wins, they beat Arizona State, they likely beat Washington State, then you're probably getting either mighty USC or mighty NC State. So if you said NC State 2 years ago, I would have been a little bit more worried, or hell, even last year. Uh, cool, like great. I mean, it's better than what they're playing because you look at their non-conference schedule now, and the bigger question I have outside of Texas basketball is where on earth does Sean Miller find these schools? But no, I think Zach's right. These next two games you use to experiment and work out the little kinks that you've got in your armor and try to right the ship and be like, okay, what we feel like we can roll out against a power four team, because that's essentially what we're going to need to use throughout the year. And then from there you can get into a rhythm, because from that Arizona State game, Zach mentioned the Virginia, and you get UConn 2 games later, and then 2 more games go by before you start SEC play against Mississippi State. So I like the approach that you take in terms of if Sean Miller does decide to just, hey, we're going to try some things out these next 2 games like they have been the last two, and kind of see where it lands us in Maui.
I have one more thing. I want to see Kendall Weaver make threes. He said he shot 300 a day for the all off season, and he's 0 for 8 this season so far. So
he's got to bump it up to 500.
I want to see. I want to see Kendall
couldn't
hit some.
Couldn't tell. Yeah, these next 2 games, I want them to stay healthy. I want as many guys to play as possible, except for John Clark, because it's pointless for him to burn the red shirt at this point of the season. Well, this season in general. But yeah, stay healthy. Don't let these games get away from you. No reason to play sloppy basketball when you're bigger than these guys, more athletic than these guys, getting paid a lot more than these guys. So go out and play like it. The last thing that we have to talk about on today's podcast, the 2026 class is taking shape for Texas. Last year, we didn't get to talk so much about high school recruiting because it was a challenge for Texas. They missed out pretty much every top target except for John Clark. This year, the Longhorns are really cleaning up in the recruiting ranks. They've added Joe Sterling, a 4-star combo guard from California, Harvard-Westlake. They've added Bo Ogden, a guard from Austin, son of Chris Ogden. And then the sort of crown jewel of their class so far, who was supposed to commit today, announced his decision at least, He is now pushed to Monday. Top 25 national player, another guard, Austin Gooseby, little brother of offensive lineman, Longhorns offensive lineman Trevor Gooseby. So far, this class of Gooseby commits on Monday, 3 deep, probably going to be ranking as a top 10 class in the country at that point. Guys, what do we think about Sean Miller on the recruiting trail? This is pretty exciting.
Good job, Sean. Good job, Sean. Way to get some guys, especially if they get Gooseby in the class, which I have a feeling they will. Great job. I mean, Goosby's a hell of a player. He comes from a really good family.
Yep.
Trevor Gooseby, the left tackle for Texas, is probably going to be, if he does declare, he's going to probably be a first or second round pick. So this is an athletic family. And yeah, if you get 2 top 30 guys in the class, you take that 9 out of 10 times, because Rodney Terry could always recruit really well, but he was better as a recruiter as an assistant than he was as a head coach. Obviously, Trey Johnson was
the case for a lot of guys.
Yeah, Trey Johnson was the win of his career. And honestly,
anomaly. It was an anomaly.
But that's what he did best. Like, at his best, Rodney Terry is a recruiter, and that's why Texas had him on the staff for so long, is because he does a hell of a job as a recruiter, and now he's doing a hell of a job with ESPN, with the Pelicans. Super happy for him. And another one of those guys is one we've been talking about, John Clark. I'm happy he's taking a redshirt year. That's going to be a hell of a player, guys. I'm really excited to watch John Clark play here soon, next year or whenever it may be, because he's going to be a really good player for this program going forward, I think. And I think he did need some development. He was pretty raw in high school, but some of the tools that he's got are going to be very translatable. And he's got a guy in TJ Ford who's an excellent mentor in his corner, and has been so for a lot of guys at Texas. But yeah, you can't ask for a much better start in your first year on the recruiting trail when you're kind of thrown into it late. And as Austin, or oh my God, Bo Ogden signed the other day. So signing day is already, come and gone. And here's Sean Miller coaching his first couple of games. So I think when and as he gets more and more time under his belt to deploy those resources, we're going to see a continued success. But so far, so good.
This is why you hire Sean Miller, right? I mean, at Arizona, he got Derek Williams, DeAndre Ayton, Laurie Markkinen. I mean, he gets NBA guys, right? So, I mean, this is just the beginning. Austin Gooseby would be great, but this is just the beginning. Bo Ogden, I mean, that was kind of a layup with Chris, even though Bo said it had nothing to do with it. Obviously had a little to do with it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Obviously had a little to do with it. But this is a university that is very well funded, that really commits to their athletics, and they have a coach that is also a great recruiter. And this is exciting stuff. I know that there's Cameron Williams, who's most likely going to Duke, but I know Texas also has been heavily invested in him. But yeah, I mean, we haven't really it's kind of fun to talk about the recruiting trail and all of that, because we didn't do that at all last year. And the year before, we really just talked about Trey Johnson. So, yeah, it's exciting. I mean, we hired Sean Miller for a reason, right? You want goals to get to the Final Four, fight for a championship. And I think it'll take 2 or 3 years, 4 years to be in the conversation, but it's definitely a good start. I mean, right now there's a top 25 class, right now.
Clear top 25 class. If they add Gooseby, they'll be a top 10 class, I would think. And the exciting thing is, Gooseby, if he has a good year, probably a one-and-done guy, especially in a weaker 2026 class nationally. But the other two, Sterling and Ogden, should be multi-year guys. And that's pretty rare in the NIL era, the one-and-done era. For them to be able to get these guys to commit to the program and likely stay for more than a year is really exciting. So those are really my thoughts on the incoming class. Do either of you have any other thoughts before we go on our merry way until next week?
Well, if you give me 15 seconds, I can tell you where Texas's class would rank if Gooseby does commit, using 24/7 Sports' little tool here, class calculator tool. So their team score would be 62.74. And if that's the case, that would rank, not only would they be top 10, they would slide into the 4th best class in the country as it stands, behind Kansas, Purdue, and Missouri. So Is it going to stay that way? Probably not, because let's see, Duke is sitting at 23rd. I don't think Duke is going to stay at 23rd, but you're getting to a good spot there, and so yeah, credit to Sean Miller, and excited to watch this team over the next couple of games, but more so in Maui.
I hope we have stuff to talk about next week. I don't know. I don't know what we're going to talk about. Wow, we really think Barry
Preview Maui.
25.
Preview Maui.
Yeah, no, you're right. We will preview Maui. Yeah, looking forward to that. I hope Kendall Weaver can make some buckets because he said he's been shooting.
All right,
Keep shooting.
I'll leave you guys with this. I think the Tremont Mark puts up 20-plus points in each of the next 2 games. I think he's going to head into Maui on a heater. I think this move to an off-ball position, really, really smart on Sean Miller's part. So that'll do it for this week's episode of the Hook 'em Hoops podcast. We'll be back here next week talking about the next 2 Texas basketball games and then previewing their Thanksgiving feast week in Maui. Thanks for joining us.